Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Today I'm looking at my 1976 case crawler, and my next project is to take care of some of the slop in the controls here. This handle here has about 6 inches worth of throw from front to back, and then from side to side it's probably got about 5 or 6 inches as well. And so all of this in here is just wore out. So this particular handle here, I considered building a new one, and it's not impossible, but it is a little bit complicated with some of the different bends that you'd put in the new one, and then building this little piece out. Not impossible, but very, very time consuming. And I have a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper full of different contacts for wrecking yards and different things that specialize in old tractors. And I came across a new old stock handle. Mind you, these aren't very cheap when you find them, but definitely I thought, well, the time versus what it cost me to have this shipped, it was worth it to me just to go ahead and just have this one here bought and delivered to me. So this one here is R38663, and I also got, I think, a little bell crank down in here. As you can see, this thing is basically oblong on the inside. You can see the play in that, just in that little section down there. That's quite a bit. This handle here just has an awful lot of slop in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this out, and then also change out this little bell crank here. And this even came with its original box. This is part number R45489. I have some grease fittings here, all different shapes and sizes. This cast crank here comes with already Zerk holes in it, so I'm going to go ahead and install some new Zerk fittings in here. So the way this is going to be assembled is, of course, putting the Zerks in, and then I have some stainless steel. So this will go on like this. Obviously I got to cut the rod to length, and then this is going to go inside here, and that will complete this piece. Now all I have to do with this particular piece here is change out this linkage here. I'll have to make all new bars because these bars are all oblong and wore out. I've got new pins. You can just get these pins probably at your hardware store easy enough, but these are just clevis pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild these little bars that run back to the valving that controls the hydraulics. And so if I replace these bars and make the through holes at the same diameter of these holes, then these new pins will slide right in, and it'll be a nice tight fit. This will all be tight, a good tight fit all the way around, and there should be no more slop or give in the handle here. So that will take care of this. Now this little bell down here, it has a little bit of slop, but not a whole bunch. Not enough to warrant me purchasing and running down and finding another one of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with this one. I'm going to upsize this right here. I'll just have to machine this bar on the lathe to the right length. It's about 3 inches long, between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch of upsizing on the hole on this, and then the hole that runs through this, the handle, and then it goes into the other side. So this part back in here is actually welded to the machine. So I'm going to upsize this hole in through here while I have this handle, the assembly off here. I'll have all this apart. Go ahead and drill through this piece here, through this handle, and then through this support member coming out from here. It's actually welded to this piece right here. So I may have to take this plate off. It's just got 2 screws, and then take this off to where I can easily get in here and take these pins out. So now it's just a matter of disassembling things. There we go. I'll keep my hand on that so I don't lose it. There we go. Well, all these pins have to come out, every one of them. Take these bushings out of here and save these. I'm going to have to bore this out and then make the new shaft to match the hole that I have to bore this out to in order to make it cylindrical again instead of egg-shaped. There's no grease in here, so what I want to do is I want to maybe insert a grease zerk in here so this shaft can get greased. You know, that actually fits pretty solid right there, and this is the same size shaft as what has to go into this handle. So the handle has a whole lot of wear. If it wasn't for the handle having so much slop on that new shaft, I could go with just replacing this pin. Just build a new pin and run through there. But this hole right here, it's in real bad shape, you know, so I gotta try to open this up, open these two holes up so this handle can fit tight again. So I did take measurements off camera to see what the distance is between here and here, and a 3-inch pipe will work just great on that. So these I'm going to put next to this handle. Try to keep all those together just in case there's a difference in measurement between these bars. There might be a difference in length and a difference between the center to center on the holes. So these will have to make new to fit the new pins that I'm going to put in here. 9/16 is what we need. This is actually coming apart surprisingly well. Okay, another thing I have to do is make another handle for this. This actually is a very good fit, so there's no wear on that pin, so I just go ahead and use that again. That's great. Okay, you can see how this hole is egg-shaped and worn. This part, not so bad. That still fits on there pretty tight, and I'm really happy about that. This has some wear, but not really significant wear, so that's why I decided not to change this part out. But these need to be replaced. I also have to upsize the pin that runs through here. I want to check and see how sloppy the new pins fit in the old valve linkage here. Not too bad. There's a little bit of slop, but that's to be expected. Okay, we're back at the shop, and here I have laid out a bunch of material here that I have to either modify or build. Step one is probably going to be the most challenging part. Maybe not. It all depends on how well this taps. I got to take this 3/4 inch outside diameter rod and bore a 5/8 inch hole in the end of it. This will be bored out to 3/4, but I'm making a bushing out of this. This bushing will go inside here, and I might put JB Weld or something like that on the inside, on the outside of this, so the outside of this will adhere to the inside of this, leaving me a 5/8 inch hole in the end of this rod. So that'll make me a little bushing. This is going to be the 5/8 drill bit that I'll use. I'll use a series of bits and work up to the 5/8. But this is the end result, is a 5/8 bit and the drilling in the end of this. So we're going to see how that works first. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to bore this out to 3/4 of an inch. So if this is a success, we'll be rest assured that we can go ahead and auger this out and then drill our 3/8 or 3/4 of an inch hole into the side of the angle blade handle. So this is oblong. I measured with a set of calipers the widest distance in this hole, and I came up to a 3/8 inch pin that I need to replace this. So I think it's 5/16 or something like that. As you can see, needs to be a wider pin than what I have. Well, I could probably go to the store and find a pin easy enough, 3/8 inch form, but if I have the metal here, I can go ahead and utilize that and just make a pin on the lathe, justifying my $350 lathe. At any rate, I did the same thing with this hole here. I found the widest point and sought out, okay, I do have a 3/4 inch piece of round stock that I can use and fill this hole once I make it round again. So the other thing is I have to make some new linkage rods and drill these out to 3/8 to match this hole, and then make to match the 3/8 pin I'm going to make. This is the existing pin. It seems to fit pretty good, so I might just go ahead and leave this, but it's not too bad to make a new one, so I might just take this rod, cut it to 3 5/8 inches long, and bore a 3/16 inch hole in the end of it for the keeper or the shear pin to be reinstalled in this. That shows actually quite a bit of wear, so I might just go ahead and make another pin. So the first thing I'll do is I'll put this in the chuck and make our 3/4 inch or 5/8 inch hole on the inside of this 3/4 inch bar stock that I have. Now that's a good fit right there. Just chamfer that over just a little bit so I can get the pin in there. It's incredible how long it takes to make something like that. Well, especially for me. The idea is for this to insert into here when I tap this out to 3/4 of an inch, and then I'll just go ahead and make a new rod. There we go. So there's no slop in that whatsoever. So that's going to be a nice smooth fit. So being as I'm happy with this, I'll go ahead and set this up in the drill press and tap this out to 3/4. Well, I thought I had the camera rolling when I went ahead and drilled this out, but basically all I did is put a 3/4 inch drill bit in here and laid the handle in the vise where this part of the handle was touching the jaw here of the vise, and this part here was touching the opposite side of the jaw. So that helped me to realize square on this. So then I just went ahead and drilled all the way through, and it actually came out pretty darn good. Well, hopefully it's not too weak. but I really didn't take off that much material. At any rate, you can see about how much material's been taken off by the size of the bushing. So let's see if that fits. A nice tight fit. And if I want, I could take a little JB Weld or maybe Loctite Blue or something and put on the inside of this before I insert the bushing full time. So I tap a hole on this side so I can put a grease zerk in here and be able to start greasing this. I'll just go ahead and make a new pin for this. So here's my new bushing. And I got to cut this to 3 5/8 of an inch in length. And then put a hole in there for the keeper. Now I forgot to turn the recorder back on again, but essentially what I have here is a piece of stainless steel. And I started out with a pilot bit, and with nice consistent pressure on stainless, it's good to always keep the bit moving. You don't want to let it heat up. Now we have a place for our pin to go, and I'll bevel each side of this to where it's chamfered on each side. That way when I go to put the shear pin in there, it'll actually center itself, and then you can tap it in easy enough. Okay, so now when a guy goes to put that shear pin in there, it'll self-center. It'll be a lot easier to put in. While I'm at the drill press, we're going to go on to our second part of the handle here. And again, we measured out and determined we needed this to be bored out to 3/8 of an inch. Okay, here's all the components for this handle. 3/8 inch pin that we made. I put a hole in the pin to accommodate a cotter pin. I just thought it might be apropos to put a couple washers on here, one on each side of this handle, to buffer between these two linkage bars. I also just put some, this is Permatex thread locker, blue thread locker, in between the bushing and the cast iron portion of the handle to prevent the bushing from turning inside the handle when it gets operated. So then again, we have this part here that's new, and that'll slide in just like so. So we're back from the other property. Everything seems to be measuring up real well. A lot of the slop is taken out of it, but this pin fits really tight on this handle. The bushing worked well, and I cleaned this stuff up a little bit yesterday off camera, and I got to looking at the old bell crank, drilled this out, and then also drilled out the center going through where the large handle fits in, and made new bushings for all this, and everything works well on it. Nice snug fit. And this is the old pin that went through there, and I made new bushings for where this mounts to the tractor, because the part that mounts to the tractor has a lot of slop in it. So I'll bore those out. I'll bore those holes out over there to 5/8, and that will accommodate these new bushings. And what I want to do is also make a new rod to replace this one here. This one doesn't have a whole lot of slop, but it does have some wear, and this is a nice chunk of stainless steel, so I might just go ahead and cut this off and put a new cotter pin hole in it, or actually I believe it's like a shear pin that goes in there, similar to this one here. I'm going to replace this shear pin because you can see the wear on that. So I found this in my little box of shear pins, and so I'll just go ahead and put this in and then cut it off to the right length. And I think I'll just go ahead and use the old bell crank. I cleaned up this little bell crank, and what I'm going to do, what I've done is I've put a new bushing in here, built a bushing for that yesterday, bored this out, and so that's a nice tight fit. That had a elongated hole, so I took care of that problem. And next to the last thing is I'll make some more little linkage bars. These actually go from the bell cranks to the valve cluster to operate the functions. And so we'll make these, we'll make new bars, 5/16 by 5/16, and that'll take the slot, some of the slop out of these. These are a little egg-shaped, elongated holes. Oh, I forgot to tell you. What I'll do also is I'm going to put a grease zerk hole in this, and I'm also going to put a grease zerk hole in here so I can keep this greased up well. I found this old handle knob. I've had it squirreled away for years. I don't even remember what it's from, but I took it off of whatever it is I was tearing apart and threw it in the drawer, and finally remembered it when I was going to go assemble this new handle here. So what I plan on doing is I plan on, this hole here has to be made to a 5/16. So I have the 5/16 tap and a 5/16 die. So we'll tap this and we'll put threads on here, and then we're just going to put that knob right on the top of this handle. So that's what I have left to do on the project, and I don't know, I might just go ahead and clean this stuff up and throw some paint at it. So the saying is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, that's not going to hurt a thing having that on there, so we'll cut down on some of the wear if we keep that greased up. So I'm going to cut this off and clean this up. This looks like it's beveled just a little bit. So I want a good square edge on this where it's going to fit into the part on the tractor. So while this is cooling off and we got the chop saw out, we may as well go ahead and we can cut these linkage bars. I just rounded off the edges over there at the bench grinder. I want to make use of that existing hole. I ran out of material, so I'm going to line that up in the center. Obviously this doesn't have to be exact. 1/8 of an inch off, 1/16 off, one way or the other isn't going to matter on this. Okay, here we're going to want to drill this out to 16 or 5/16 of an inch to match the diameter of the pin. And first I'll drill a small pilot hole. that feels a lot better than the old ones. I'll clean these edges up a little more and perhaps throw some paint on these. Okay, the last part of this project, other than cleaning up and possibly painting, we'll drill and tap for this handle. So the first thing I'll do is I'll put this 1/2 inch ready rod in here, in the end of the knob. So again, the reason for the ready rod is to center this round ball straight into the 3-jaw chuck. You'll see here in just a second. I don't have to tighten that horribly bad, but we do want to get it to the point where it is perfect to the entrance to the 3-jaw chuck. Okay, now I have a bite on this. Now I can loosen this, back off this, unscrew the ready rod, install the drill bit. Now it's straight on. Now I want to determine how deep I want to go. I can mark the drill bit with a felt tip pin, or I can just put a piece of tape on there. I want to go up a size on my drill bit. I don't have the 17/64 like they're requesting that I use, so I gotta guess a little bit, and I like to build up instead of having to try to fill the hole back in. So I think this next bit will be just fine. Okay, we're back here at the machine. Have a box full of parts to assemble. I'm in between rain events right now, so I'm going to try to get this done fairly quickly. I'm going to bore this hole out and put a little bushing in here, and likewise on this side. This hole and this hole are pretty tight, so I'm going to leave those alone. And so I got to bore these out, put bushings in, and go to assembling it. I'm just going to try one bushing at this time, because this other one feels pretty good. It has a little bit of slop, but I'm going to put a pin through there, so it should be fine. We'll see. If not, we'll take it back out and drill from the other side and tap this out a little larger. Pin. The reason why that's so tight is because there's paint on the inside. Should have cleaned those out. honed out the inside a little bit, get the paint out of them. Could have bored this out some more and put a larger pin in here. That would keep that from working back and forth, but I got a grease zerk on this. I might even be able to fill that in with some JB Weld to keep it stable. Should have put this on after I put this linkage on here. It's a hindsight, huh? Okay, we have it installed. Everything, this has just normal slop in it. The valve cluster back here, the connections are just a little bit egged out on that. You're going to have just a little bit of give, but this is a lot tighter. This has no give to the left or right, and just about maybe 3/4 of an inch of play up here. This one here, maybe it's got maybe 1 inch. This is an old piece and it has a little bit of give in it. You can see it exercising back and forth. If I really wanted to, I can replace this. I'm really not too concerned about it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease in it. The other thing I have to do is, I almost forgot this pin here. Now this right in here, this is the original fit. I drilled this hole out a little bit bigger and put a shear pin in here. And this still exercises quite a bit, but I'm going to lube this up. I'm going to leave it as is and see how this functions. Well, I think I'll go ahead and start it up and see how it feels. Well, that feels pretty good actually. I'm pretty happy with that. There's quite a few little pieces in there to put back together again. But I'm glad it's done. You guys have something like this. You got old parts, it's hard to get. It's not impossible to bring new life back into them. So hopefully this video can help you make that decision of whether or not something is totally lost or whether it's something you can fix or not. Anyway, hope this helped you guys out. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.